I, Jeannie, am a corporate employee, but I'm also pursuing a dream of becoming a professional cartoonist as an extension of my hobby. I am mocked by my parents for choosing what seems like a childish dream even at the age of 30. But my husband Trevor supports and encourages my dream. However, his family doesn't feel the same way. It seems like they truly despise me. Every time we visit my husband's family home, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law seize the opportunity to berate me when my husband is not around. Jeannie, are you still drawing those cartoons? A tackle are really clingy, never giving up, and honestly kind of disgusting. Why waste time on that nonsense? I want to see my grandchild's face soon. The couple next door already has their second child, you know. Their jabs about me not giving up and demanding to see a grandchild hit me where it hurts, so I find myself unable to talk back. My husband's family home is dominated by the women, especially since his father passed away before we were married and my selfish sister-in-law acts like the supreme authority there. Even now, while sending my husband her brother on an errand, she takes advantage of his absence to be mean to me. She does whatever she wants. Nevertheless, as an only child myself, the existence of a sister-in-law, no matter how bratty or annoying, feels fresh to me. Even though I find her hateful most of the time, I can't ignore her presence. One day, talk of my sister-in-law's marriage came up. She's planning to meet the parents soon. My husband received the call and told me about the date. Wait, I have a meeting that day. The meeting is with the editor of a comic magazine and I am planning to head to an interview afterwards. But since I'm also invited as a family member, I'll have to try to align my schedule. I called my editor Moreau and immediately requested a change in the schedule.
Jeannie, may I ask the name of the venue?
Moreau is a man around my age and he's very flexible. After I told him the name of the venue, he offered an alternative plan.
That's the venue, Jeannie, where you and I are going for an interview. So why don't we finish both the interview and the meeting in the morning, and then you can attend the family gathering in the afternoon.
If that's the case, I would really appreciate it. But soon, I would realize in a painful way that my consideration was utterly trivial and irrelevant to my mother-in-law and sister-in-law. A few days later, I was at the wedding venue. As planned, I rented the lobby for a brief meeting and then proceeded to the interviews. I toured the venue and had the opportunity to talk to the people working there. In between the interviews, I had casual conversation with Moreau, who was in charge, and found out he was also engaged. Moreau, you're getting married too? Congratulations!
Finally, I found the right person, so today's interviews have been quite informative for me as well.
That's wonderful. I hope you have a beautiful ceremony. Later, after having lunch at a nearby restaurant, I returned to the wedding venue. I was led to meet the parents' room, but no one from the other side had arrived yet, and the only ones there were mother-in-law, sister-in-law, and me. My husband, it turned out, had sent a message that he would be late, so he wouldn't be coming for a while. I felt a bit uncomfortable, but it seemed the others felt the same, and sister-in-law suddenly lashed out at me without reason. Listen, Jeannie, I've been thinking, and I don't want to introduce my sister-in-law as a disgusting manga geek. So I think my brother should be single and we'll just pretend you're not here, okay? Mother-in-law, sensing an opportunity, joined in to try to push me out. Yes, that's a good idea. This is a fresh start for my daughter and outsiders should not be allowed. Furthermore, mother-in-law noticed my heavy bags. She picked up my bags, which were placed on the chair, intending to shove them back at me. I had my laptop inside with photos and notes from today's interviews, and I didn't want it handled carelessly. You don't seem to be here for work, so why not draw your favorite manga in a nearby cafe? She said, and predictably mother-in-law dropped my heavy bag. But mother-in-law just watched. Sister-in-law didn't seem to care at all. Mother-in-law, that's awful. My laptop is in there. Oh, I'm sorry, but this is just perfect, isn't it? You can take it for maintenance. It's good that you have a reason to leave now. It didn't look like it was done on purpose, but they were using my failure against me, trying to conveniently push me out. I didn't want to be in this place anymore. That was the only thing on my mind as I silently grabbed my belongings and left the room, almost fleeing. I'm frustrated that I can't retort, but more than that, the way mother-in-law and the others spoke to me is incredibly sad. I even rearranged my work schedule for today. To be called an outsider? If I weren't in public, I might have burst into tears.
Hey, Jeannie.
Standing at the entrance of the venue, lost in thought about what to do next, a familiar voice called out to me. I looked up and Moro was there. Behind him, a man and woman whose faces vaguely resembled Moro's were standing. Probably his parents? Oh, you're still around, huh?
Jeannie, you were supposed to meet the parents, right? Why did you leave the venue?
Upon hearing that, I couldn't hold back and told them everything that just happened. Moro and his parents listened silently, looking troubled. After I had more or less finished my story, Moro calmly asked me, by the way, Jeannie, what is your husband's family name? Since I use my maiden name for my work as a cartoonist, not many people know my husband's last name. And I mentioned it to Moro, probably for the first time. Moro thought for a moment and then told me,
Jeannie, you don't have to leave. Let's go back. I'll go with you.
With those words, he almost forcefully took me back into the venue. When I returned to the room, mother-in-law and sister-in-law were astonished, and my husband, who seemed to have just arrived, was also quite surprised. But the surprise of mother-in-law and sister-in-law seemed to be directed more at Moro, who had accompanied me, than at me. Oh, what? You? Why are you with that person? I naturally didn't know since today was the first time I met him, but it seems that Moro is indeed sister-in-law's fiancé. Moro looks at sister-in-law addressing her with the same composed voice he used earlier. His voice is so calm that I can't help but wonder if he's really talking to the woman he's dating.
It seems I've misunderstood you. I heard about what you were planning with Mrs. Jeannie. You were going to treat your own brother's wife like a nobody, weren't you?
Well, what are you talking about? What's going on all of a sudden?
As for mother-in-law, she was going to kick out her daughter-in-law as an outsider and even drop and break someone's belongings, right? You're completely different from the person I heard about from her, aren't you?
It was an accident. Mother-in-law and sister-in-law are defiant and playing dumb to Moro's words. We didn't do anything, she's just pulling on an act. Oh, that's not it. She's a nuisance to our household. They even blamed me. I would never break my own work tools. Is your purpose to bother and trouble me at my most crucial time? You always do this. You make our family feel awful at the most critical moments. It's because you're a creepy manga nerd. You don't understand the happiness of normal people. You are an audible living in the world of manga. The insults were more unrestrained than usual, making me feel like coming back was a complete mistake. But Moro, after listening this far and seeing sister-in-law's unmasked demeanor, seemed to have thought something. He spoke out firmly as if to push her away.
Just because you work with manga doesn't mean that's possible. Those documents were for Jeannie's debut series. Something as important to her as her own life. She would never treat them carelessly.
Moro, facing the cowed sister-in-law, spoke without hesitation.
I only told you that I work for a publisher, but to be precise, I am a manga editor.
What?
So I can't marry someone who doesn't cherish the things related to manga. I'm afraid I must call off this wedding.
Oh, what? How can you say that all of a sudden? All of us, not just sister-in-law, were utterly shocked by this. I too thought this was too much and tried to stop Moro. Moro, breaking off an engagement so suddenly is going too far. But Moro seemed unwilling to change his decision. He looked at me and explained,
Marriage was something I longed for. I liked her too, but I love my work. And I love manga. I just can't be with someone who finds manga and those who love manga disgusting. When she saw my shelf of manga, she didn't say anything. But now I'm afraid she might have found it repulsive all along. It would have been better if she had just told me. The thought of being ridiculed behind my back sends shivers down my spine, so living with her is now out of the question.
Moro's parents had been quietly watching, but now sensing their son's determination, they firmly spoke up.
We heard Jeannie's comments as well. If she's not lying, it's unacceptable treatment for a future family member, and it seems she's not lying. We cannot accept you into our family. We must decline the marriage.
Being told this not only by her fiancé, but also by her future in-laws, sister-in-law fell to her knees and burst into tears. Mother-in-law, crying herself, crouched down to support her daughter. Embracing her, sister-in-law, her face smeared with tear-streaked makeup, pleaded desperately with Moro. I won't accept breaking up over this. No, please, marry me, please. Please, she's not usually like this. Please forgive my daughter. Both sister-in-law and mother-in-law were apologizing, crying, and refusing to accept the engagement being broken off, but Moro and his family looked troubled. At a moment when nobody could speak, my husband was the only one to remain calm.
Both of you, enough. You can't change this person's feelings now.
My usually gentle husband spoke out today in a rare manner, as if scolding his mother and sister. He turns to face Moro and his family, bowing his head politely.
I'm truly sorry. We'll cover the cancellation fee for the venue.
What are you talking about, brother? We won't call off the engagement now. How much do you think the cancellation for the venue will cost? Sister-in-law showed no interest in listening, but Moro appeared willing to accept my husband's offer.
If I can part with you for a few $1,000s in cancellation fees, I'll gladly pay.
That's horrible. Sister-in-law accused Moro of being cruel, but everyone had heard her remarks thus far, so no one listened to sister-in-law's side.
I agree to your proposal, but I won't allow you to bear the full cost. I don't want to feel indebted. Let's split it equally. Also, I apologize for introducing myself late, but I'm working with your wife now. May I have your business card? Yes, please. Take good care of my wife from now on.
My husband smiled and responded for the first time today. However, sister-in-law and mother-in-law couldn't help but feel angry at my husband for taking control of the conversation. Predictably, mother-in-law became enraged. Don't do as you please. Today, my husband was truly strong. He didn't back down to mother-in-law, which he usually would.
Who's doing as they please? You've always bullied Jeannie when I'm not around, haven't you? Thought I wouldn't notice? You've belittled me since forever, so I won't say anything more, but I won't tolerate insults to my wife. Once this is settled, Jeannie and I will cut ties with you, Mom.
My husband seemed to know, and he had been enduring it all along with me. What are you talking about? Your father has passed away and you're the only man in the family. Mother-in-law was usually flustered upon hearing about cutting ties. Certainly, mother-in-law always seemed to push off anything she didn't understand about managing finances onto her husband, so his absence would cause a problem. Such a selfish way of thinking. After all the times she ridiculed other people's hobbies, she wanted to keep him close because he was useful? Naturally, my husband understood her true feelings and directly opposed her.
So, you just dump various troubles on me, and then behind my back you mock my wife like you're doing now, saying that manga geeks are disgusting? I know all about it. How long do you think we have lived together? I'm fed up with you guys. Just the thought of being family with you makes me sick.
I haven't experienced this since we were married, but my husband has been dealing with this since he was a child. No doubt he has been living his life being denied for his likes, even at a personal level. As mother-in-law hung her head in shock, sister-in-law suddenly lunged at me in a desperate last-ditch effort. Why did you come back? This happened because of you. I thought I was going to marry a rising star in a top publishing company. Well, I didn't think this would happen either. You should just disappear. While I can't help that you don't like me, I can't marry someone as petty as you, who can respect what others love. Not to mention, if you can accept something about the person you're going to be family with, you can be a family, let alone get married. I don't want anything to do with terrible people like you anymore. With those final words, I pushed away sister-in-law who kept clutching my collar, and she began to cry loudly again, but there was no reason for us to stay here any longer. Leaving mother-in-law and sister-in-law behind, my husband and I said our goodbyes to the Moros and left the wedding venue. Afterwards, regarding the cancellation fee for the wedding, my husband made sister-in-law pay half. He apparently made up the difference by selling some of her expensive brand-name bags and coats.
It's a good lesson for her,
my husband said. Indeed, it was sister-in-law's own doing that led to this situation. She got what she deserved. After witnessing that, my husband and I truly cut off all contact with his family. That said, it's not like we don't have any other relatives. Sometimes my husband hears about his family through his cousin. Hearing about it only depresses him, as it's always distressing news. It seems that mother-in-law and sister-in-law, as soon as they were left alone, began to fight constantly. Eventually, it ended with sister-in-law leaving the house in a huff, and they too became estranged. Mother-in-law apparently lost her entire family and started to show signs of dementia. Moreover, she fell victim to a scam and lost all her savings, and now she's living on the edge, cutting corners to make ends meet. sister-in-law who always had a sloppy personality also found herself unable to live alone. I heard she's stuck making monthly installment payments and is now being chased by steady repayments. But it has nothing to do with my husband and me, and that's not what's on our minds right now. I won an award for my comic and my debut has been decided. On the day of our private celebration to commemorate the debut, my husband nostalgically recalled the times when he had contact with mother-in-law and said,
Jeannie, I'm sorry for making you endure so much. From now on, please draw your comics freely. I will continue to support you.
Thank you. Supported by my beloved husband, I will now live happily as a comic artist, working more freely and joyfully doing what I love.